And welcome to our Light Lab interactive tutorial. This is based off of the Mulvaney Studios website that we looked at in class the other day. So for starters, we're just going to go to mulvaneystudios.com right here. There's a variety of other options, but we're going to select the one on the top in the middle, which is the Light Lab interactive that we looked at. Once I select that, I'm going to get this splash screen with some basic instructions in terms of how to add lights with the light button, where I can place the lights, which is pretty much anywhere on the truss or the floor, adjusting our various parameters like focus, color, beam, and then ways of creating screenshots that you will then upload to Nexus. So we're going to click enter to get into it, and it's going to look like this. The first thing I'm going to recommend that you do is come over here to ambient. This affects the amount of ambient light that's in the environment, and I'm going to recommend you pull it down to what would be about 15%. You still want to be able to see what's there, but that seems like an awful lot of extra ambient light that we don't want to be looking at. So for here, we'll go through just creating a really simple look. So I'm going to create just your standard McCandless lighting. It's probably going to be quite different than what you're going to be doing for your assignment, but in terms of how the software operates, I think it'll be relatively simple. So I'm going to come up here to light. Once that's highlighted, I'll click that. And as soon as I bring my cursor into the screen, you can see that it gives me a light and shows me that beam. So since we know that McCandless lighting is 45 degrees out and 45 degrees up from either direction, I'm going to place a light right here. So I will just click, and that places the light. It's still highlighted here in purple, which means the software thinks that I'm affecting any changes that I make are going to affect this light. So the first thing I'm going to do is focus it on the actor. So I'll come down here to focus, click on that, click on my actor, and now my actor is lit. So this looks like the beam is just a little bit too big for what I want. It's getting up on the backdrop here, and it's just kind of a lot of extra light. So I'm going to come down here to beam size. Currently, it's a 36 degree. You don't really need to worry about what that means, other than 50 degrees is obviously going to be bigger, 10 degrees is going to be much smaller. So I'm going to click on 26. And that looks like a much better size for what I'm looking for. I'm going to come over here to color next. You can absolutely select a color from this various palette, but I'm going to recommend that you click on the gel tab. And here it gives you swatches for a number of fairly popular gel colors. There's not a lot of them. You can scroll through them relatively quickly, and it's easy to see what that color is going to be. So for this light, it's still highlighted. I still have it selected. I'm going to say R33 because I know that's just kind of a nice soft pink. And looking at my actor here, it all just looks a little bit harsh, so I'm going to drop the intensity to 75. There we go. That looks a little bit better. That's my first fixture. Now I need to add one from the other side in a cooler tone. So I'm going to come back and select light. Again, it gives me another light and shows me where I would potentially be hanging at. I think I clicked erroneously. So there we go, placing another light. Again, I'm going to come down to focus and focus it right on my actor's head. And much like the other one, I want this beam size to be the same as the first one, so I'm going to change it to a 26 as well. Looks like I've got it focused a little bit higher, so I'm going to adjust that focus down. Now I'm not on the backdrop. That looks a little bit better. And this wants to be in a cooler tone, so I'm going to say this is going to be in the R60, which is kind of a soft blue. And again, it's looking relatively harsh, so I'm going to drop this one down to about 50%. And that's starting to look pretty nice on my actor over here. I've got a nice warm tone lighting up her face and providing some warmth into her skin tones. And then I've got the blue coming in, just lightly filling in all of the shadows on her face. And since we're doing this as a McCandless system, which includes a 60-degree backlight, I'm going to come back up and select light once again. And I'm going to put it on this back truss back behind my actor. Click to set it. Focus it again, pretty much right on my actor's head. We can see that from the shadow exactly where the actor is in that beam. We can see over here there's quite a bit more highlight on the shoulders and coming over the top of the head. So for this, I'm going to say let's make this a blue. So I'm going to take a swatch down here, this R80, that's going to be a nice blue, and that's going to just create a nice three-dimensionality of my actor over here. This beam shape on the floor feels a little sharp and a little harsh to me, so I'm going to come down to my beam edge and just use this scrubber bar and slide it over and soften that beam up so it's not quite so harsh. And then, because we generally don't want things to be at full, I'm going to say let's make this to be 75%. There we go. Next thing is affecting the backdrop, which I initially thought we weren't able to do, but then we discovered that in class, which is great. So there's a top and a bottom to it. So I'm just going to click on the top of my backdrop. And now, again, I can affect its level of intensity and its color. So if I wanted it in a magenta, I could do that and make it much brighter. And then the other half is the bottom half, which is currently in that magenta. Maybe I want to change that around and I want that to be a darker blue so I get a little bit of a different ombre effect. I'm going to boost that intensity up just a little bit as well. And now I'm getting a pretty nice look. So let's say that this is the look that I'm happy with, that I want to turn in for my project. I'm going to come down here to Image and click on that. My computer is asking me if I want to allow a download. I'm going to say yes, because it's going to download that screenshot. And then when I open that screenshot, here's the look that I've created. I can go ahead and change its title, because this is just the default title that it gives to all of those screenshots and files that it creates. So I'm going to change this to whatever scene this is from the play that I'm currently designing, and my name, so that when you turn it in, I know whose creation it is. I'm going to close that out and come back here to my Light Lab. And since I'm all done with this and I have saved my photo, I'm going to reset everything to create my next look. So let's say reset. It's going to ask me if I'm sure that I want to. Yep, I do. Reset. And we're going to go right back to where we started again. So let's look at a slightly different example this time. And I'm going to say I want a light. And let's come from this side, maybe a higher angle, say right there. Again, I'm going to focus it down on my actor. And since at least one of my images needs to have a gobo in it, I'm going to come over here to the gobo tab. Again, it's given me some basic options, some relatively simple gobos of what things might look like. I'm going to choose this tile one just for the sake of demonstration. And now you can see that we've got this pattern on the floor and also this pattern hitting our actor here. So I'm going to come back to gel so I can give it a color, and I'm going to say red. We're going to make this a little bit more sinister looking. That's looking pretty good. Maybe I want to fill in on my overall look over here. So I'm going to go ahead and hang another light similar to the one that I just did. I'll click to place that, and in the focus, this time instead of on my actor, I'm just going to kind of focus it to the floor right there. Now this beam size is relatively small comparative to the one that I already did, so I'm going to make it a little bigger. I'm going to come down to my beam size, and I'm going to click 50 degrees. It's going to fill in a little bit more space. That looks a little bit better. I'm going to come back to my gobo tab, click on that tile again, go back to my gel tab, click that 26, which is that red, and now I'm getting a little bit more light in my overall look, and it's even hitting my actor just a little bit more. Okay, so from next, let's try something at a slightly different angle. I'm going to grab a light again, and I'm going to come down here to the floor. And you can see that right now it's pointing straight up at the ceiling. So I'm going to click on it there. Again, I'm going to click to focus, and I want to focus this on my actor. Now that's relatively harsh, but we're going to make some changes to it here in just a second. The first thing I'm going to do is change the beam edge. We've got this hard edge circle on our background that I don't think that we're going to want. So I'm going to take my beam edge and I'm going to pull it way down so that it's a nice soft circle. And then for argument's sake, maybe I'm creating a look for my witches in Macbeth. So I'm going to come down to my green swatches, this R91. That's going to look pretty good. Okay, and now maybe I think we're doing just a little too much green. It's a little too heavy. Again, we're at 100%, which we normally don't want to do. So I'm going to back that off to 75. Maybe even 50. Let's go back to 75. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So now I've got this red coming in from one side. I've got a green coming in from a lower angle. From the other side, and I'm just creating kind of an unsettling look in general. Let's affect our backdrop here and do something else a little bit more interesting with it. And so I'm going to click the top, and maybe I don't want a top. Maybe I'm just going to take that out. It's going to turn it gray because the amount of ambient light. Unfortunately, when you reset, it resets the ambient light as well, so you're going to have to come back over here and pull this back down to about 15, just so it's a bit darker in the space. And then I'm going to click on our bottom cyc and find a color that I like for that. Maybe that purple. Yeah, that's not quite what I want. Maybe I do want to do the green just so that all that blends together, and it's a little bit unsettling. So now I've got a look. I've got a key light coming in from the side here that's lighting that texture on my actor. I'm filling it in with that green from below, and so maybe this is what I think I like for my next look. So once again, I'm going to come down here to Image. Click on that. My computer is going to ask me this again. I'm going to say yes, I want to allow that download. And it's going to download that PDF for me. And there's my overall look. Again, I can change this file name so that it references the scene in the play and my name. And then those files can get uploaded to Nexus along with your link to your Pinterest board with your research. I'm going to go ahead and close this out, which brings me back into my light lab. If for some reason there's a light that you've placed that you don't want, you can easily get rid of it. You can just select the light, and now it's highlighted again in purple. Or you can scroll through the lights that you have placed by using these front and back buttons, and it will tell you whether or not there's a gobo and whether or not there is a color. And it'll give you all of the information that you need right here. Let's say that I actually decided I don't like this this footlight here, so I'm going to highlight it, and I'm just going to say delete, and it's going to get rid of it. And then I can move forward and place another light and focus it to create a different look. If you want to create a little bit of atmosphere so you can see the beams of light, that's what haze is, this button right here. So I can click on that, and now I can see the beams of light coming through those gobos, hitting my actor, and gives me just a little bit more interest. So that's an option for you as well. So again, like I said in class, I recommend you just play around with it a little bit, see what kind of interesting looks that you can create, see how those relate back to your research, and how you think those relate to the specific scenes in the play that we had assigned. So good luck, have fun, and I'm excited to see what you come up with.